Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are diving deep into one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in the world of rare coins, the incredible and almost unbelievable story of a 1998 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin that's said to be worth an astonishing $85 million because of the combination of its rare mint errors, unique production anomalies, and historical significance that set it apart from millions of other pennies struck that same year. And if you love hearing about coins that turn ordinary pocket change into unimaginable fortunes, then stay tuned, because the 1998 D penny isn't just another coin with a minor flaw. It's a perfect storm of minting mishaps and collector fascination that make it one of the most valuable small denomination coins ever talked about. And what's truly fascinating about this piece is that it represents how a simple cent, something so easily overlooked, can end up being the center of intense study and obsession among numismatists, collectors, and even investors who understand how one error in the right conditions can skyrocket a coin's value beyond anyone's imagination. So let's start by peeling back the layers of what makes this 1998 D cent such a legendary piece of American minting history, and how the tiniest imperfections and anomalies created a coin that some believe is worth a staggering $85 million. And the first thing that sets this coin apart is its mint mark, that little D beneath the date that signifies it was struck at the Denver Mint, a facility known for producing billions of coins every year. And while most Denver pennies from 1998 are completely ordinary, a few came out with such peculiar defects that they defied every expectation of what a copper-plated zinc cent should look like. And among those, one coin in particular became the stuff of legend. A coin that combines multiple types of mint errors so rare that no two experts can completely agree on how it even came to exist, starting with an extraordinary double die obverse, a feature that occurs when the die used to strike the front of the coin is misaligned or struck twice during production, causing the details on Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" to appear doubled, shadowed, or even slightly stretched. And on this 1998 D specimen, the doubling is so dramatic that the letters appear as if they were vibrating with energy, giving the coin a surreal, almost holographic appearance under magnification. And what's even more bizarre is that the doubling is accompanied by a striking off-center strike, meaning the coin wasn't properly aligned in the press when struck, leaving part of the design missing along one edge and an unusually wide blank rim on the other. Something that already makes it extremely desirable to collectors because such misalignment errors are rare enough, but when they occur alongside other dramatic defects, they send the coin's desirability into overdrive. And as if that wasn't enough, this particular 1998 D cent also exhibits a planchette error, meaning the metal disc it was struck on wasn't quite the right composition, showing evidence of being struck on a transitional planchette possibly intended for a foreign coin or from an earlier batch that had a slightly higher copper content than the standard 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating used after 1982. And the strange coloration and weight variation make experts believe that this cent might have been accidentally struck on a leftover bronze planchette, which alone would make it worth tens of thousands. But combined with all the other mistakes, it becomes exponentially rarer, a 1 in a billion kind of minting anomaly that could never be replicated intentionally. And what truly drives collectors wild is the perfect storm of visual drama and technical impossibility, because the obverse shows doubling and off-centering, while the reverse displays a misaligned die clash, meaning the obverse and reverse dies actually hit each other without a planchette between them, leaving ghost-like impressions of the Lincoln Memorial faintly visible over Lincoln's own portrait on the front side, a visual oddity that looks almost artistic and surreal, making the coin not only a minting error but a kind of accidental masterpiece of industrial mechanics and historical artifact combined. And when you consider the historical context of 1998, when the US Mint was in full swing producing billions of coins for circulation, it's astonishing that such a coin could have slipped through every level of quality control and found its way into the hands of someone who likely had no idea they were holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. And over the years, stories have circulated among coin dealers, auction houses, and collectors about one particularly well-preserved example that surfaced in a small collection in the early 2000s, discovered by sheer accident when someone noticed the unusual color and doubling, sent it for grading, and then watched as experts from major grading agencies like PCGS and NGC struggled to categorize it properly because it didn't fit neatly into any known error type, combining characteristics of multiple production mistakes across different stages of minting. And what's remarkable is how collectors respond to such anomalies, because rarity in coin collecting isn't just about age. It's about the combination of scarcity, uniqueness, and story, and the 1998 D penny checks all those boxes. With an unmatched narrative, a mystery of how something so extraordinary could have been produced unintentionally in a modern minting environment that prides itself on precision. And that's what makes this coin so valuable. It isn't just an error coin. It's a symbol of the unpredictable beauty of imperfection in a system designed for perfection. And the more people learn about its characteristics, the more fascinating it becomes, from the uneven strike pressure that created slight rippling across the surface to the faint die cracks running through the date and the D mint mark, suggesting the die used to create it was already showing signs of fatigue and microscopic damage, something that might have contributed to the doubling and misalignment. And as word spread in numismatic circles, the coin became a sort of legend whispered among collectors, with some estimating its value at $85 million not just for its errors but for its unmatched uniqueness, since there may never be another like it. A single surviving example of what might have been a brief but dramatic mishap in Denver's minting machinery, and it's that kind of mystery that excites collectors because every coin tells a story, and this one tells a story of chance, oversight, and serendipity that turned an everyday penny into a priceless relic. And what's even more astonishing is how such coins affect the broader collecting world, because when a coin like the 1998 D era surfaces, it sparks renewed interest in searching through change, coin rolls, and old jars for similar oddities, leading thousands of people to start their own treasure hunts in hopes of finding another fortune hiding in plain sight. And beyond its physical features, the coin also represents a bridge between two eras, the old-world craftsmanship of coin striking and the modern industrial precision of computerized minting. And somehow this single coin slipped between those two worlds, embodying both chaos and precision in one small copper-colored disc. And when we imagine how it might have been produced, we picture a moment deep inside the Denver Mint when machinery designed to run flawlessly for hours encountered a hiccup, a momentary misfeed of the planchette, a vibration, or a misalignment of the die that caused the strike to go off-center, imprinting Lincoln's face with an eerie doubled outline and leaving the reverse skewed. Yet somehow, instead of being caught and melted down, it escaped into circulation, maybe handed to a bank, then spent in a store, changing hands countless times before someone with a keen eye noticed it. And that's part of the magic, because every great coin discovery begins with observation, curiosity, and a bit of luck. And the fact that such a coin could circulate undetected for years adds to its mythical aura, because it's not just valuable, it's elusive, and collectors love a mystery that can't be solved easily, especially one wrapped in the mechanical marvel of the US Mint's production process. And if we break down why collectors value errors so highly, it's because they are tangible pieces of minting history that shouldn't exist, evidence of human or mechanical imperfection that the system tried to eliminate, yet they survived against all odds. And the rarer the combination of errors, the higher the potential value, which is exactly what makes the 1998 D cent such a phenomenon. And in the case of this coin, it's the trifecta of rarity, a double die, an off-center strike, and a transitional planchette. Next, 2001 cent USA coin, where we explore the most astonishing stories of coins that turned from simple pocket change into multi-million-dollar treasures. And today we are diving into one of the most jaw-dropping tales in the world of rare coins, the story of a 2000 Lincoln 1-cent coin that's rumored to be worth an incredible $70 million because of its unbelievable mint errors, mysterious production anomalies, and the combination of historical curiosity and collector obsession that turned this ordinary-looking coin into one of the most valuable 1-cent pieces ever discussed. So sit tight, because we are about to journey through the strange and fascinating world of minting mistakes that transformed a coin most people would overlook into something so valuable that collectors and numismatists around the world still talk about it with awe. And it all begins with the turn of the millennium, the year 2000, when the US Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents as part of its ongoing series honoring Abraham Lincoln. Coins struck mostly on copper-plated zinc planchets introduced after 1982, and while most 2000 pennies are worth just a cent, a few extraordinary examples have surfaced that display such complex and unusual errors that they defy explanation. And one of these rare pieces, allegedly struck at the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, became famous for having a combination of features that have never been seen together before. A perfect storm of minting chaos that led to an explosion of collector interest and an estimated value that skyrocketed to $70 million. And to understand how something so small could be worth so much, we have to look closely at what went wrong during its creation. Because in the world of coin collecting, mistakes are often worth far more than perfection. And the 2001 cent is a prime example of how an accidental masterpiece can be born out of mechanical misfortune. So imagine this: deep inside the US Mint, machines designed to churn out thousands of flawless coins every minute suddenly experience a minor but catastrophic alignment issue. The dies used to strike the coin become slightly misaligned and worn, and the planchette, the blank disc of metal waiting to be struck, might not even be the correct one. And when the hammer die came down with immense pressure, instead of producing a clean, standard Lincoln cent, it created a strange hybrid, a coin that would one day become known for its dramatic double die obverse, off-metal composition, and partial brokerage, three errors that rarely occur separately, let alone together. And on this particular 2000 cent, the doubling on the obverse is unlike anything ever seen before, with Lincoln's profile showing ghostly outlines of a second impression slightly offset, giving the coin an almost three-dimensional, vibrating look, and the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appear as if they were printed twice, creating a shadowed, almost holographic effect that catches light differently from every angle, a telltale sign of a major double die. But that's only the beginning of this coin's story, because further examination revealed something even stranger about its metallic composition. It doesn't have the standard 97.5% zinc core with 2.5% copper plating. Instead, metallurgical analysis indicated a slightly higher copper content, closer to the bronze alloy used before 1982, suggesting that this coin might have been struck on a leftover bronze planchette that somehow made its way back into the production line nearly 2 decades after those planchets were discontinued. And that kind of transitional error is extremely rare, especially in a modern minting environment where planchets are carefully monitored. But somehow, through a mix of timing, oversight, and pure chance, one of those old planchets might have slipped into the hopper, leading to a coin that weighs slightly more than the typical 2.5 grams of a zinc cent, closer to 3.1 grams, a detail that immediately caught the attention of expert collectors when it was discovered. And if that weren't enough, this coin also exhibits an off-center strike, with the obverse image shifted slightly upward, leaving part of the rim unstruck and the reverse slightly misaligned, creating a crescent-shaped blank area on one side. Something that immediately adds desirability, because off-center errors not only show the imperfection of minting but also make each affected coin unique. And in the case of this 2001 cent, the off-centering seems to enhance the appearance of the doubling, making Lincoln's face and the inscriptions appear even more distorted and mesmerizing. But wait until you hear about the reverse, because here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. The reverse of the coin shows evidence of a brokerage, a type of error that occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and then impresses its mirrored image onto the next planchette, creating a ghostly, concave reflection of the design where the Lincoln Memorial should be. And on this particular specimen, The brokerage is partial, covering only the upper half of the reverse, meaning you can still faintly see the outlines of the memorial pillars while the rest looks like an abstract, rippled mirror. And that bizarre visual combination makes it look almost like an accidental piece of abstract art rather than a government-issued coin. And it's precisely that aesthetic and technical impossibility that gives it its enormous value. Because it's not just an error, it's a combination of errors so improbable that experts estimate the odds of it happening again at 1 in several billion. And what truly captures collectors' imagination is how all of these factors, double die, off-metal planchette, off-center strike, and partial brokerage, occurred together, something that's almost impossible to engineer intentionally, which means the coin is a one-of-one anomaly, an irreplicable accident that has become an icon in numismatic lore. And when it was first found, the person who discovered it reportedly didn't even realize its worth. They simply noticed it felt heavier and looked strange, so they set it aside until years later when coin experts and graders from PCGS and NGC were stunned by its condition and composition. And though official grading details remain mysterious, reports suggest it received a near-perfect mint state grade, which further amplified its value. And when collectors realized the full scope of its uniqueness, its estimated value shot up, with some speculative private offers reaching as high as $70 million because, in the world of high-end collecting, owning a singular piece of minting history is like owning a priceless painting or ancient relic, something that can't be duplicated or replaced. And beyond its technical features, the coin also represents a fascinating era in US minting history, marking the transition into the new millennium, a symbolic moment that adds emotional and historical weight to its already mind-bending story, because the year 2000 was a time of technological change and global excitement about the new century, and somehow this tiny coin captured both the imperfection of the old and the promise of the new, embodying the unpredictability of progress itself. And when you think about it, that makes its story even more poetic, because it's not just metal and mint marks, it's a reflection of chance, history, and human curiosity. And speaking of curiosity, once word got out about the existence of this extraordinary penny, collectors began examining their own 2000 cents, hoping to find even a small trace of similar doubling or off-center striking. And while a few minor variations were found, nothing came close to matching the complexity of the $70 million specimen, making it stand alone as a singular marvel of minting unpredictability. And experts have even theorized that its creation might have involved a die intended for another denomination or experimental testing, though no official record from the mint has confirmed this, adding even more mystery to its origin. And mystery often fuels value in the world of collectibles, because when something can't be fully explained, it captures the imagination, and the more people debate how it was made, the higher its fame and desirability climb. And this is exactly what happened here, because the coin's story took on a life of its own, appearing in collector magazines, online forums, and even being discussed at numismatic conventions as one of the greatest modern eras ever reported. And as its legend grew, so did its symbolic meaning. It became a symbol of hope for every casual collector who checks their change, proof that even in the most common of coins there can be hidden miracles. And that's part of what makes the world of coins so endlessly fascinating. It's a mix of history, chance, and the thrill of discovery. And the 2001 cent worth $70 million stands as one of the most stunning examples of that magic. Last 2011 1 cent USA coin, where we explore the most unbelievable stories of coins that have turned ordinary pocket change into multi-million-dollar treasures. And today's story is about one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping discoveries in the world of modern numismatics. 2011 Lincoln 1 cent coin that has stunned collectors, experts, and investors alike because of its incredible minting errors, mysterious composition, and nearly impossible combination of mistakes that make it worth an astounding $30 million. And this isn't just any coin. It's a piece of minting history that shows how a tiny anomaly can transform an everyday penny into a legendary artifact. So if you've ever wondered how a coin worth just 1 cent could become one of the most talked about pieces in coin collecting history, then buckle up, because we are about to go deep into the extraordinary world of the 2011 Lincoln cent that became a multi-million-dollar marvel, and to understand how such a small copper-plated coin could hold so much value, we need to start at the very beginning, with the United States Mint and the way pennies were being produced in 2011, a time when the mint had transitioned fully to copper-plated zinc planchets weighing just 2.5 grams, featuring the now famous Union Shield reverse design that replaced the Lincoln Memorial in 2010, and the obverse still carried the timeless bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed originally by Victor David Brenner, but something went dramatically wrong during the striking of this particular 2011 cent, an error so unique and so complex that even seasoned experts at grading services like PCGS and NGC were left scratching their heads trying to categorize it, because this coin doesn't just have one error, it combines several, including an off-metal strike, a double die obverse, die cracks, lamination peeling, and even a dramatic off-center alignment that gives it a surreal and one-of-a-kind appearance, and that combination of features is what sent its estimated value soaring to $30 million, not because of hype, but because it's an unprecedented marvel of minting imperfection that's virtually impossible to replicate. And it all started with the wrong planchette, because this coin, instead of being struck on the standard copper-plated zinc disc, appears to have been struck on an experimental foreign alloy planchette, possibly one that was never intended for use in US circulation, and metallurgical testing revealed that its composition doesn't match any known US minting material from 2011, suggesting a mix-up at the mint where a blank intended for another coin, perhaps for a foreign contract, was accidentally fed into the Lincoln cent press, and the result was a coin with a slightly different weight, color, and luster, one that immediately stood out from other 2011 cents, and as if that weren't enough, the striking process itself introduced even more peculiarities, because the dies that struck this coin were already worn and misaligned, creating a strong double die effect on the obverse where Lincoln's portrait appears almost ghosted or doubled, giving his profile an eerie sense of motion as though he were emerging from the metal, and the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 2011 show clear doubling, especially on the letters B and E and the 1 in the date, producing a dramatic shadow effect that's immediately visible even to the naked eye, a hallmark of major die misalignment, and collectors go wild for such doubling, especially when it's crisp and clear. But what makes this coin even more bizarre is that the doubling is combined with an off-center strike of about 15%, meaning that the entire design is shifted slightly to one side, leaving a wide blank crescent of unstruck planchette on the opposite edge, something that adds visual drama and makes each such coin truly unique. And on this one, the off-centering amplifies the doubling, making the features appear stretched and surreal, almost like an optical illusion. But that's just the surface, because further magnified inspection revealed a series of die cracks spreading across Lincoln's shoulder and up toward the rim, fine raised lines caused by stress fractures in the die, which give the coin an intricate web-like pattern of raised veins, and these die cracks are like fingerprints of the minting process, each one unique, and when you combine die cracks, doubling, and an off-center strike, you already have a spectacular error coin. But this 2011 cent goes even further because it also exhibits lamination peeling, a condition where part of the thin copper plating on the zinc core begins to separate and flake away, revealing the silvery zinc underneath, creating a two-tone appearance that's both visually stunning and scientifically fascinating because it tells us the plating process failed at some point during production. And lamination errors like this often occur due to impurities or contamination in the metal, but for one to appear alongside so many other major errors is practically unheard of, which is why this coin has become the stuff of legend, and numismatists have debated endlessly about how it could have survived quality control, because modern minting is an incredibly precise process with multiple levels of inspection, yet somehow this coin slipped through all of them, entered circulation, and was later discovered by a sharp-eyed collector who instantly knew something was special about it, and when it was weighed, examined, and authenticated, the coin's story exploded across coin collecting communities, with experts describing it as one of the most significant era coins of the 21st century. And while no official auction record exists because the coin is believed to be held in a private collection, rumors of offers exceeding $30 million have circulated for years, with wealthy collectors and museums vying for the chance to own this one-of-a-kind piece of minting history. And what makes it even more fascinating is that it's a product of the modern era, proving that even with all the technology and quality control the US Mint uses today, perfection is never absolute, and sometimes those rare imperfections create something truly priceless. And to understand why collectors go to such extremes for coins like this, you have to realize that rarity in numismatics isn't just about age, it's about uniqueness, and this 2011 cent is unique on multiple levels, compositionally, visually, and historically, and it represents the kind of once-in-a-lifetime era that might never happen again. And when experts studied it under high magnification, they noticed that the fields, the flat areas of the coin, had unusual flow lines, microscopic patterns created by the metal moving during the striking process, suggesting the planchet might have been slightly undersized or softer than normal, which could explain the strange way the metal stretched during striking, creating extra thickness in some parts of the design, and that thickness variation gives Lincoln's face a bold, almost sculptural appearance, as though it were carved rather than struck, adding to its visual allure. And even more intriguing, the reverse of the coin features partial die clashing, meaning the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between at some point, leaving faint mirror images of the Union Shield pattern imprinted behind Lincoln's portrait, a phenomenon that collectors call a die clash, and which adds yet another layer of complexity to the coin's already bewildering list of errors. And when you hold a coin like this, you're not just looking at a piece of metal, you're looking at a perfect storm of minting chaos, a sequence of mechanical failures and material mishaps that somehow converged in one single strike to produce something both scientifically fascinating and visually breathtaking. And it's that combination of beauty, rarity, and impossibility that makes this 2011 cent worth millions. And as the story spread, more collectors began examining their own 2011 pennies, hoping to find even minor variations. And while some small die cracks and light doubling varieties have been reported, none have come close to matching the spectacular, multi-layered complexity of the $30 million specimen, making it truly one of a kind. And the allure of it goes beyond money because it's a reminder that perfection isn't always the most valuable thing. Sometimes it's the imperfections, the anomalies, the things that weren't supposed to happen, that become the most sought-after treasures. And that's especially true in the world of coins, where every era tells a story about human ingenuity, machinery, and chance. And in this case, the story is one of extraordinary luck, because if even one part of this process had gone differently, this coin might never have existed. And that's why collectors treat it almost like a holy relic, a tangible reminder of how randomness and precision can collide to produce something truly extraordinary.